Eventually, we're going to reach sort of fully circular society where all of the critical minerals that we have to mine to do our transition to sustainable energy, we'll have mined enough, and we can sort of just recycle them and keep them in circulation to meet current demands.
Part of the question should be, what can we do more locally? And let's rethink these systems that got us to here. And it's time to kind of revisit. Can we do more things locally? And I just think there's a lot of opportunity. Like I always say, it's a sad state where we are, because it's easier to get an item shipped to you from China than it is down the street. But there's all this stuff is down the street. And so I think it's harder though to figure out, how do you get scale locally? How do you tap into these things? And if you think about, I guess, to that point for yourself, I know you're a pretty young company just trying to kind of get out there and get some traction. I mean, how do you think about scale? I mean, are you testing your product? Are you starting to test this in a few places? What are the bigger challenges for you as you think about, the next few years?
Yeah, absolutely. So with new processes, it's always a long time horizon to scale up new technologies like this. So we've been working on this for about 3 years since our first proof of concept, successful reaction, getting to make hydrogen through the aluminum water reaction. And where we're at now is basically wrapping up our first big pilot of the technology with California's largest aluminum recycler. So we spent almost 2 years in the lab developing this technology, doing the early stages of company building, fundraising, team expansion, all of that. And then for about the past year, we have been operating a pilot of our technology with TST Inc., California's largest aluminum recycler, demonstrating this zero waste process where we're actually producing aluminum from dross, producing rapid set cement in collaboration with CTS Cement, the cement company that we partnered with, from dross, and also producing hydrogen from dross. Yeah, that pilot has been successful, and now we're looking to partner with a major U.S. secondary aluminum processor to scale up this technology. Also in collaboration with the U.S. EPA. We got a grant from the U.S. EPA about a year ago to continue developing this technology, and they will be applying for phase 2 of that grant program in just about a month here, actually.
It's really interesting. Like I said, I just think there's, it's yet again another example of, hey, there's still a lot of value in our waste stream, right? And I think, even back to when I started OfferUp, I was thinking a lot about, where do all these things go? Like, why is value locked up all around us? What if we could just tap into it? And I think the historical challenge was, it was kind of hard to do that. But then here comes the smartphone, right? Like, oh, we can remove a lot of friction. If we remove a lot of friction, maybe more people start to use things like OfferUp, and maybe that will change. And luckily, here we are. That was over 11 years ago, and luckily that has kind of worked. And so, I think to your point, things start really small, and you got to figure those things out. But if you can get scaling, right, if you can start to get scale, then you can make more of an impact. So I hope there's more companies like yourself looking at these various problems, because they're massive. I mean, they're really big. Opportunities, business opportunities, but I always think also just historically, I think we've just kind of, they've been harder to kind of really get a real ROI on some of these challenges for a lot of companies.
Definitely. But I think now is the time, and there should be a lot more companies working in this space, because eventually we're going to reach a sort of fully circular society where all of the critical minerals that we have to mine to do our transition to sustainable energy, we'll have mined enough, and we can sort of just recycle them and keep them in circulation to meet current demands. I mean, I'm talking like long time horizon, 2050 scale.
Sure.
But there will come a point where we've mined enough of these critical minerals, and the recycling process will be sort of where the industry goes. So I think it's definitely very smart to look ahead and start to think about how we can proactively design better systems that are set up to be able to transition to recycling when we've sort of extracted enough of these minerals from the earth.
Yeah, I think what you're talking about, I believe in that future too, where, if you think about, I always tell people, I forgot the exact stat. I think in the next few years, we're going to be at about 250 billion parcels shipped a year. And you think about that, like everything associated with that is crazy to think about. But it's not like you're shipping all of these things and they're just abundantly flying all over the place. No, what's happening is those things are now growing, right? They're just sitting in these urban areas and they're getting bigger. Like our homes are actually getting bigger in the US, but our families are getting smaller. More and more of us are renting storage units. Like what's happening is all that stuff, all those resources and that it's just sitting and it's growing in these big urban areas. And so I think back to your point, like where Hydrova is playing an important part is like, well, how can we start to tap into this? How can we make it economical to get these things circulating locally? And again, I think there is recycling programs and things like that, but it's not the majority today. It's the minority. And so hopefully we can tap into those more.